Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today we're going to do something a little different. Today we're going to be repotting my citrus trees. Now I live in Utah, zone 6/7, and my citrus trees are indoors almost half the year. They cannot tolerate temperatures below 40 degrees, so they come inside. Now when I say they can't tolerate the temperatures below 40 degrees, it won't outright kill them, but it's not really great for them. So I do grow them indoors under lights. Now, I'm a little embarrassed to show you what they look like right now. They were absolutely gorgeous. They were flowering, they had fruit, and then we got a severe spider mite and thrip infestation in my grow room. And they needed to be repotted, and the spring was really cold for a really long time, so I put off the repotting until now, which is mid-June. And they are looking really sad. My lemon tree is completely defoliated, my satsuma mandarin lost all of its fruit, and my Australian blood lime is looking pretty bad. So I'm hoping repotting them, putting them in fresh soil, keeping them outdoors, and then starting to control the bug infestation will help them start to come back. They've been outside for about 3 days waiting for me to have time to do this video, and they're already starting to look better. So let's show you what they look like now, and then I'll show you how I do the mix. So here's my poor little Australian bloodline. We do have fruit on it down here. Let's see if we could show you one of the fruits. It's been on the plant. So this has been on the plant for a long time, and you can see the thrip damage on it. So we may have to pull the fruit. I don't want to pull the fruit, but we're just going to assess the health of this tree after we repot it and see how it does. So this is the size of pot that I'm going to be putting it in. This is my satsuma mandarin. You can see how the leaves are curled here. That's because of the bug infestation. It's also a little bit nutrient deficient, and the leaves have thinned out quite a bit. But this one's looking a little bit better than my Meyer lemon. So let's show you what my Meyer lemon looks like. This over here is my Meyer lemon. It's getting new growth, but the new growth is very nutrient deficient. The lemons are staying on the tree, and it's really worse for wear. So we are going to prune out the dead. This is dead right here. And then we're going to repot it in fresh soil. Now, I already made the fresh soil about 3 days ago, and let me show you now how I did that. And I hope you can hear me because I'm not using my mic because I needed to do this really quickly. I'm running out of time today, but I wanted to show you the mix that I'm making for my citrus trees. First thing I did was add coconut coir. It's a big block of coconut coir, and I put it in my wheelbarrow because it makes a lot. So I put it in my wheelbarrow and wet it down, and let me show you what it looks like. So this was 1 block of cocoa coir, filled up half of my wheelbarrow. The next thing that I'm going to add is a land and sea compost. We're going to add a whole bag of this. This will add a little bit of nutrition, and it also helps hold water. Then I'm going to add some perlite. The perlite helps with drainage. Now because this is a citrus mix, we need really good drainage. So I'm going to add perlite, and I'm going to add some larger pumice. When I make my citrus mix, I make a 5-1-1 mix. Now the 5-1-1 mix is going to have 5 parts of fir bark, 1 part of perlite, and 1 part of potting soil. Now I am making my own potting soil here, so I am adding a little extra perlite, a little more than I normally do for potting soil. I'll be using this for other purposes as well as for my citrus trees. So we have the coconut coir, the compost, and the perlite. Now I'm going to add some fertilizer to this. Now citrus trees are heavy feeders, so I'm going to be adding other fertilizer after I'm done. This is just for the potting mix part, but I'm just going to add what I have. I have a lot of various fertilizers left over, so I'm just going to add those. This is just an all-purpose starter fertilizer that I had that's a 444. So we'll add most of this. We have a little bit of citrus tone left over, and this is a 526. Not a lot of it, we're just going to use what we have left. And then I have some kelp meal that has very little nitrogen and very little phosphorus and potassium, but it has some nutrients in it. So this is like a 0.6, 0.5, and a 2.5. So we'll add some of this. And now we'll just mix it up. We're finished with the potting soil. It's a nice rich mix. It's got the fertilizer mixed in. Now we're ready to start making the citrus mix, the 5-1-1 citrus mix. Now I have a 2-gallon pot here, so I'm just going to be using half of it for measurements. So when I fill it full of the fir bark, that will count as 2 parts of the fir bark, and then half of it will be 1 part. So we're going to mix it into this large container and see how it looks after we're done. Now just so you can see how fine this is what it looks like, and this is about the size of bark you need. Now I like the fir bark that I find at Home Depot, but you can also use the Repta bark that you can find online for reptiles. 2 parts there. Now I was worried I was going to run out of the fir bark, so I did get the Repta bark, and this is what it looks like. I just ordered this online on Amazon. And this is what it looks like. It's just got a little more uniform shape to it. Now we'll do 1 part of the potting soil that I just made. Now I purchased a really coarse pumice. This is the pumice. It's really coarse, and I think this will help with drainage. Now we'll mix it up. So now that we have the fresh soil, this is what it looks like. Citrus needs really well-draining soil. The quickest way to kill a fruit tree is to rot it, is to rot the roots. Now this is probably not enough. We'll see if it's enough for all 3 of the trees. If it is enough for all 3 of the trees, then we will repot all 3 of them. But we need to do the Australian bloodlime first, so let's get that started. So the first thing that we're going to do, obviously, is take this poor little bloodlime out of the pot. Now I'm going to do that over this 5-gallon bucket. Let me get these dead leaves out of here. And look at the soil and see if I need to get rid of all of the soil, which I probably will. And if I do get rid of the soil, it'll just go into my compost pile. So I'm going to carefully put my hands over the root ball, tip this over, and very carefully pull it out of its pot. So now the roots don't look too bad. Let's look at these closer. Now what I'm looking for is to make sure that these roots are not rotted, and they do not look rotted at all. So I think they're going to be fine. Now let's tease a little bit of the soil off. And put it back down in here. Then we're just going to look at the level that the citrus tree is in the pot and make sure that it's at the right level. We want it to be the same level that it was in the other pot. So I think this is going to be just fine. So we're going to add more soil around it. We're going to add some fertilizer. We're going to add some organic plant tone first, and then we're going to add some synthetic fertilizer. The synthetic fertilizer is so that it can get a really good dose of nutrients. Organic fertilizer is for the long term. It takes a long time for it to break down and become available to the plants, but the synthetic fertilizer is available once I water the plants. So just put a couple of handfuls in and work it in to the soil. So the synthetic fertilizer that I'm going to use is the Osmocote. I really love this plant food. It's a slow release fertilizer that comes as little pellets, and it is readily available to the plants, and it only needs to be replaced like once every 3 months. So we're going to work that in around the plant, and then we're going to water it in. So now it's time for my poor Meyer lemon. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to trim off the dead and we're going to remove the fruit. Now removing the fruit is really a painful process, but this tree is struggling so much, I don't want it to waste any more energy trying to ripen fruit. So bye-bye poor little lemons. Kind of makes me sad, but I really would like to see this put on new growth and recover. Now we're going to give this tree a good prune. We're going to prune it for shape, and we're also going to take off all of the dead. That way I hope it'll be willing to push more new growth. So we're just going to take off all the weak, crossing, dead branches, anything that's pointed the direction that I don't want it, and it'll probably not have leaves when we're done, but that's going to just have to be the way it is. So now a lot of my poor tree is gone. Probably pull off some of these leaves because I think they probably still have thrips on them. But now we're going to try and save it. We're going to transplant it into the same pot that it's in now. We're just going to add some fresh soil. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with the other tree, and we're going to just carefully tip it out, look at the roots, see if there's any rot, and then add fresh soil. So we're going to carefully remove this tree from the pot. And look at the roots. Now I'm not seeing any rot. The bottom is a little bit pot bound, so we'll break this up just a little bit. So we removed some of the circling roots. We'll mess up the sides a little bit and then put it in new soil. So I'm really happy that I'm not seeing a lot of rot on these trees. So we're just going to take off. Well, actually, let's put this in here first. Add the new soil. Take off some of the soil. Try and support it the best that I can. Now we're going to put it in here and make sure that it was the same height that was before. It's not quite, it's a little lower. So I'm going to balance it here really carefully. Add some more soil. And that's about the depth that I want it. So let's move this bucket over. Get this one standing up straight. Now we're going to add a little plant tone to this one. Work it into the soil, then add some Osmocote. Now citrus is a heavy feeder, so even though I've added this organic fertilizer and the Osmocote, I will be doing liquid feeds on a regular basis. And especially for here in Utah, I don't know if it's the water that we have or what it is, but these plants end up needing the Cal Mag. And I think it's the magnesium in the Cal Mag that they need. But once we do when we use that, the leaves go to a beautiful color and they grow beautifully and they flower. So this tree is done. Let me get it up to where we're going to put it. We'll water it in and then we'll start on my mandarin orange. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with my mandarin orange. There's no real dead branches to it, but it's got a lot of really lanky growth. So I think we're going to give it a good prune and then repot it. Now this is where I'm going to be keeping my citrus trees. It's on the east side of my house. It gets full sun for most of the day, and then it gets shade for part of the day. I'm in Utah zone 6/7, and the sun here, because of our altitude, is really quite harsh. Now we're going to give it a good watering. Now citrus trees do need to be watered well. They do not like to sit in wet soil. They need it to drain really, really well, but they don't like to completely dry out. Now what I do with these usually is I will end up watering them until the water runs out the bottom of the pot, and then leave them for several days and check the soil. If it's dry 2 inches down, about my second knuckle, then I will water it again. So I don't have a set time that I water these, I just watch how dry the soil gets. And then when I water it, I thoroughly water them. And this is where I put my little red lime. I'm really hoping that it recovers. And it's not completely dead, and I don't want to take off this little fruit. So we'll watch it really carefully. If we start to see it suffering more, we'll take the fruit off, give it a good prune, and then hopefully it'll rejuvenate. But yeah, I'm really hoping that it rejuvenates. Now the spray that I use to control the bugs is Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. It's labeled for spider mites. It also will kill thrips, and it seems to do a really good job. Now I just need to go sterilize my grow room, probably remove most of the plants, and see if I can get that infestation under control. Now I would love to hear if you have any more suggestions for citrus trees, if there's anything that I've missed, or if there's anything that you've done that has helped reduce the spider mite and thrip infestations. And so please put your comments down below. I'd love to hear those. And hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.